Good evening, Pieguyrulz here, and welcome to Nick Space or Treat. Be sure to add the space between Nick and or because you wouldn't want to slur your words in this particular case. We're going to be talking about as many classic Nickelodeon Halloween episodes as we possibly can here. And the parameters are this. They have to be Halloween themed. There's a ton of episodes out there that are spooky, but we're not going to count those because if I do, then I would be reviewing like a million episodes. We're only going to do things that are explicitly Halloween themed, unless the show doesn't have one, in which case I will pick an episode that is spooky and aired around the time, but only if it doesn't have an explicit Halloween special. Also, there really is no database for this kind of thing. I had to do all the research on my own to figure out exactly which episodes were Halloween themed of what shows, so if I accidentally miss any, then I'll probably cover it in some future year, so don't be upset. All those semantics out of the way, let's get on with the first episode I'm reviewing. And of course, it's a Rugrats episode. Candy Bar Creep Show. The babies try to get reptar bars. That's pretty much all the plot is. This episode actually aired in January because, I don't know, maybe Nickelodeon actually cared about production order back then? Still, it seems kinda strange. So, this was a Rugrats episode in the first season, and it's pretty easy to see that when you watch the episode. Unfortunately, I don't mean that in a good way. Everything about this episode is rough. The animation is particularly rough, even for an early one. And it also especially looks ugly because this episode takes place at night, and for some reason, when they made everything darker, it just looks all the more grungier. Definitely not the best of that 90s animation. The audio is even worse. It uses that synthetic stuff that Rugrats did, but in this episode in particular, it's pretty heinous because it's really high-pitched and just it blasts throughout the entire episode. It really grates on the nerves, and it also blends in with the Rugrats, who constantly scream throughout this episode. Yay! I mean, I can cut them some slack because, yes, the subject matter of the story makes it so they have to scream, but, it's not a pleasant sound. All four of them, plus Angelica, and even Grandpa gets in on the action. It's not very pleasant to sit through. And the story is very rough as well. It doesn't have a clear trajectory other than the fact that the Rugrats want reptar bars. Random things just kinda happen, and then at the end, things just really fade out without any sort of clear resolution to anything, aside from the Rugrats getting the reptar bars. It really stinks too, because this is the kind of plot that would really serve well for a Rugrats episode. One day out of the year, all of a sudden everyone starts dressing and acting like monsters, random strange kids show up at the door and ask for treats. Of course the Rugrats would be confused at this sort of thing, and they could have milked a lot more out of it than they did here. This episode is certainly no Santa experience. Of course it has a little bit of charm because it is early Rugrats and because it does have nostalgia value for a lot of us who grew up with it, but this definitely isn't its finest work. While there is only one other episode in the series that directly references Halloween, there's a ton of others that are similarly spooky and you could watch around this time of the year. I'd suggest the episode Ghost Story, where the Rugrats cross over with real monsters. Man, that title is so awkward to say. Even this episode's sister episode, Monster in the Garage, makes a much better Halloween episode than this one, because it's spooky and it actually tells a story. Oh well, see you in about a decade for the next Rugrats Halloween special. Pieguyrulz, out.